Hello, everyone, and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick, and this is my daily ramble. Going to have another stab at promoting our lovely new sponsor, the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. If you do love your tea and coffee, please go and give them a look. It's fantastic stuff, actually. You know, they do your standard kind of leaves and coffee grounds and all that sort of thing as well. But they also do, I've gone for all their tea bags. It's ridiculous. I'm going to place another order for those because my son's obsessed with them. But if you do like your tea and coffee, jump on the site. It's brilliant. Support a local West Ham business as well, and use the discount code Claret15 and you'll get 15% off. All right. Okay. Well, look, also, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe because it does help us. And don't forget, drop a like on the video. So, look, what we're going to talk about today, well, there isn't really much else to talk about other than the Liverpool game and trying to assess exactly why. Well, we're kind of starting to see these same trends slip in again. You know, we're only 6 games into the season. We started incredibly well in terms of points haul, but, you know, most of you that have been watching this channel will know that even through those wins, I was highlighting concerns with our playing style because although we got wins in those games, we were still inviting far too many chances onto our goal. We were relying on 10 out of 10 performances from our goalkeeper. You know, the concentration levels from your defenders have to be outstanding. And the cracks are starting to show. You know, you kind of, I think you're not setting yourselves up to fail, but you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to win, if that makes sense. When you set up in this way, you're not showing enough faith in the team. And I think we saw in the second half yesterday, we saw a completely different team come out to that team that came out in the first half. And it wasn't because Liverpool were a different team when they came out. It was because we were regressed. We changed our style. In the first half, in the first 10 to 15 minutes, we came out, we were on the front foot, we were pegging Liverpool back, we were creating chances. You know, we could have easily gone 2 up. There were other chances throughout that game as well. You know, obviously we know we had the Souček and the Antonio chance. Should have had a penalty. Bowen should have scored a header. We did have chances in that game, so it proves that Liverpool are vulnerable. If you look at Liverpool when they faced Wolves last weekend, in the first half, you know, Wolves were kind of all over him in that first period. But then we come out in the second half, and the instructions must have been, look, it's 1-1. You know, we've been caught. Let's be careful. Let's be patient. And we're just slipping back into the same thing again. And then immediately you're playing into the hands of a team that don't like you in their faces, which is what we did. We gave them something to worry about in the first half. You take all the pressure off of them and you say, go on, just have the ball. See if you can take us apart. And take us apart, they did. You know, we didn't really lay a glove on them in that second half. It was a really, really difficult watch. And I think we saw bad performances from a lot of players indicative of performances that we were seeing last year in the league. When you see that players in that system start to get worn down, they get frustrated. I think we're going to see it now. It's boring, it's dull, it's hard to watch. It must be very difficult and uninspiring if you're a player in that system to get yourself up for that, which is damage limitation. That was kind of how we played the second half. You know, we've got the point. Let's keep it respectable. If we can nick a winner, then great. Bearing in mind, they're probably all sitting there thinking the same thing as us, thinking, hang on, Dave, we haven't been able to shut up shop all season. Why are we doing this? They're probably thinking the exact same thing. They know. They're professionals. They're in that game. We're not great defensively. We've got errors strewn throughout our defence. You know, each and every one of our defenders is capable of a mistake or two in a game. And it just seems madness to keep on putting them under the same pressure time and time again. So although after every poor result, David Moyes will point to individual errors from that person. If he hadn't switched off, or you know, if so and so had scored their one chance that they had, it'd be different. It'd be fine margins. But he doesn't ever accept the fact that it's his system and the way that he sets us up that is creating this problem, that is putting these players under pressure, that is making Zuma and Aguero, who, I mean, Zuma's been great this year, in my opinion, but they were both poor yesterday, particularly Aguero. But he's just putting them under so much pressure. There was a complete imbalance in the central midfield. Paqueta's our best player. We're taking him out of the central midfield and we're putting him on the wing. And we look bang average in central midfield yesterday. James Ward-Prowse was chasing shadows because if you're going up against anyone with any pace, speed and physicality, is going to be a bit of a ghost in the game because he isn't quick, he isn't big, he's not strong. He's a good, nice, tidy player, James Ward-Prowse, but he's nothing special until he gets on a dead ball. Okay? It's as simple as that. And he's good to have in the team, but to take Paqueta out of the middle to make way for Souček, who, strangely enough, you couldn't argue, he had one of his better games yesterday, but it's what it means for the team. Everyone looked dejected. Alvarez had his worst game. You know, we was probably being kind when we gave him a 6 out of 10. It was a really poor game. There was no balance to it. We were overrun. Like I say, moving Paqueta out on the left-hand side to make space for Souček, who is an inferior player in anyone's language, all right? He is madness. Now, I know that we all like the interplay on the left-hand side with Emerson and Paqueta, but he does that anyway because he's always got that relationship with Emerson. So when he's in the middle, Paqueta drifts right and left. He sees space, he drifts into it, and that's how he can hurt teams. But when you're just shoehorning him out in one position like that, you're kind of isolating him and you're making it much easier, even though he's not easy to keep quiet, but you're making it easier for the opposition to know where he is on the pitch. That's madness. That was a big mistake. But the biggest mistake of all was advising the team to just sit back and do the opposite of what we did in the first half. It's madness. It is gutless as well. And I've said that word a lot, and a lot of people don't like it, but it is gutless. It's cowardly. It's a cowardly football style, and it doesn't work. There's no evidence to suggest that it will work. Maybe we'll be able to do that against worse teams that have got worse strikers up front that won't convert any of the 30 chances that you get against us by playing this way. I don't know. And we will get wins. Of course we will. We'll beat Sheffield United. We will. But we're going to get beat an awful lot this year as well. But what I can guarantee you is that one thing that will be the consistent this year is it's going to be a boring style of play. Sometimes it's going to work. Most of the time it won't. We ain't going to go down and get relegated because there's 3 really shit teams in the league. So there's no risk of relegation. But, you know, I don't. But at the same time, we've got about as much chance of getting relegated as we have of getting in that top 6. We ain't getting anywhere near that top 6 this year. So we do kind of need to really focus our efforts on these cups to even have a chance of getting a 4th consecutive year in Europe. It's as simple as that. So we're going to have to, because I don't think we've got. I don't think we've got what it takes in the league this year. Not the players. I think we've got the personnel, but we haven't got the manager. It's as simple as that. Whether you like what I'm saying or not, I don't really care. I've been sticking to my guns on this, and I believe it. Look, I'm not tantruming, okay? And it ain't an I told you so. It's just the fact that it's been so blatantly obvious that at some point we were gonna start suffering for the way that we were playing. The players in the system were going to start suffering. They were going to start growing tired of it and getting fucking jet lag from just spending so much time off the ball and chasing the ball all the time. And it's going to happen. I think, you know, injuries will start to creep in as well to key players. You're going to have players on the bench that are not getting enough minutes, that probably deserve minutes, that are going to get frustrated and despondent. And then when they do get introduced, you know, they're not going to put in the shifts that they otherwise would. This method of in-game management that David Moyes has got, that we saw in the week, that we saw last weekend and this weekend, where he just brings up 2 players, where he's going to make substitutes. It takes him about 10 minutes from door to door to get a player from the bench onto the pitch. It's mind-blowing that you're literally waiting till these players are cold before you send them on. You've sent them out to warm up. You send your players out, you say, go and warm up, we're going to make some changes. They go and warm up for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you call them over to the sidelines and you make them stand there like fucking lemons for 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then you send them on. What sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't do that in the amateur game. You wouldn't. And going to Mickey had an incredibly poor game yesterday. He did. But I don't think we're going to find a striker that's going to be able to sufficiently do what Antonio does in some games. Every game, we're not going to. I mean, to give you an example, like I say, I do manage youth football at under 15s. We played a game yesterday against a really, really good team. We've got 2 fast players that we typically play up front to support each other. And in the second half, we had 2 players that wanted to leave at half-time and go to the dog shit derby because they had tickets. So we were left with low numbers. We had a 1-0 lead, and we had to play the second half because we had 9 players deep defensively, and we just left Harry, bless him, on the halfway line up against 4 defenders, which is a situation that Antonio has to deal with. He got battered. Outnumbered, completely different game. But that boy, if you play him with someone, they terrorise. They'll go up against 4 players and they will run them ragged. But they literally bullied him, and he's a big, physical, fast lad as well. And the fact is, that is what Antonio has to do in every single game, is go up there on his own and fight big players. Now, I know it's a completely different level, but the game's the same, okay? Yeah, he's going up against world-class centre-backs, big physical presences. And I don't know what you have to have in your head to get yourself up for such a thankless task in every single game. I don't. It's clear that he doesn't want to be here anymore, even though he signed his contract. He didn't get his move that he wanted, but he signed a contract with us because I think that's the best that he could get. I still think that he'll leave because I think that we've only given him that contract so that we don't have to lose him for next to nothing, even though his age is creeping up. But there's still a player there. We saw that at the start of the season. He was phenomenal. He was like peak Antonio for a couple of games. He was brilliant. So he's definitely got the ability there. But a lot of the players in this system are going to start to struggle. They're going to get weary of this playing style. Like we do watching it, they're going to grow tired of being held back like this. What has Aguerd got to do to get a rest? I'm not going to say drop him. I don't know whether he's got Morocco on his mind. I don't know what's going on with him. But he's clearly a player that's got problems at the minute, and he needs to be rested or benched or something. So take him out of the firing line. We've got Thilo Kehrer, who had a brilliant end to the season, but ain't getting a sniff this year. We've got Mavropanos. You've got Ogbonna. Why is he not giving these guys a chance and just doing Aguerd a favour, taking him out the firing line and giving him a rest? And Soufal's another one. Why are we starting games with problems? I understand that he's got his favourite players. He's got his favourite players that are maybe important in the changing room, and he don't want to upset them. But to keep on playing Soufal, he's not a Premier League fullback anymore. He ain't. Not in anyone's language. Now, as bad as Johnson has been over the years, probably through such intermittent playing time, he ain't been able to get up ahead of steam. He's not had any game time. But Thilo Kehrer would be a better option out on the right-hand side. That right-back position needs addressing. You can't have slow fullbacks. You can't. Not in the Premier League. Emerson's been fantastic out on that left-hand side. Look at the difference. Look at the difference between the left and the right. We've got a complete imbalance there. So I just feel like we're creating problems. You're playing Soufal. You're playing an out-of-form Aguerd in defence. You've taken our best central midfielder. You're sticking him out the way, wide left, so that we can play Moyes' favourite system, which is 2 central defensive midfielders, which was Souček and Alvarez, which is now started to fuck up Alvarez's game because he had a bad game yesterday. It's all out of bonk. You don't need it. You don't need 2 CDMs. You just need one person sitting at the base, and then you need 2 runners. James Ward-Prowse didn't know where the fuck he was yesterday either. He didn't. He was chasing shadows. None of our midfielders knew their job yesterday. We saw Alvarez in the number 10 position at times and James Ward-Prowse back. I don't know what was going on. But ultimately, the biggest cause of concern is the way that we're managing this striker situation. Now, of course, the biggest question mark is how on earth we didn't see fit to go out and replace Scamacca, a striker that's taken us 18 months to find in the first place. To not go out and replace him this summer and just leave ourselves with Antonio, who is the only player capable of playing in this one system, yet he's a player that can't play a full game. He's only good for 50, 60 minutes at any one time. So even if he's fit, he can't complete 90 minutes. So for us to not go out and get a replacement, a backup, a suitable backup, was madness. And to keep on bringing on Danny Ings, right, who is a massive problem. And this isn't because Danny Ings is shit. It isn't because he's finished. It's because he can't play this Moyes system. He isn't a lone striker. He's always going to be useless. If you stuck him somewhere where they play 2 up front and you have Danny Ings, little man, big man, it'd be amazing. Or if you played in an attacking team where he had players up around him, it'd be good because his link-up play's good. But you can't use him in this system. And then you've got Divine Mabama, who's now been starved of the opportunity of going out on loan because we was apparently gonna play him this year. Yeah, like fuck we was. So rather than him going out on loan to, I don't know, Championship or League One, playing proper men's football and developing his game for a year, he's now going to go and play uncompetitive under-21 football, which is what he's doing now. Or he's going to be sitting on our bench getting splinters in his arse. You know, because he weren't even on the bench yesterday. But he's probably the only suitable player that we've got that I can think would be a half-decent backup to Antonio at the moment. And he isn't... and the thing is, these players, like Mabama, he's going to lose faith. You know? And how gutting would it be to lose him, to lose a player like that? And then... Because it'll happen at some point. You know, I think Mabama's got a lot of talent. That's the reason he's been kept around. He's got a great attitude as well. So why we're not putting some of these players in, I don't know. Kudus... I don't think Moyes knows what to do with him. He clearly doesn't. You know, he's never going to drop Bowen. That's not going to happen. His natural place is out on the right-hand side, but that's Bowen's spot. We're not really going to play with a number 10 anymore, so I can't see him using him in central midfield. Not really, because he does need to play off of the striker, I think. You know, he's an attacking player, effectively. Can he get stuck in? Not on the evidence that I've seen, not really. You know, he's quite laboured out of possession. He just kind of... You know, it's not his game. I don't think he is a typical Moyes battler. He's not going to do that. He ain't like Paqueta. But I think you've got to get Kudus in there because he's undoubtedly talented and one of our better players. We just need someone that can come in and wrap all of this up, whether it's David Moyes or someone else, to get all of these fantastically talented players that we've got now that are going to start to look more and more shit as the games go on. That's my fear. My fear is the players start to look average again because of the system, you know, because it isn't about the individuals. It's just about this machine, just sitting players in front of the ball and waiting for a moment of brilliance to win us a game. It's not good for any one individual player in that system. It's not. They're not going to shine individually, you know, en masse. It isn't going to happen. You'll get the odd good performance. And certain players that are of world-class level, like Paqueta, will always look good, like Rice did when he was here for the last few years. You couldn't fuck Rice up. He'd always look good. But we're not. Something will have to change. I mean, when we come up against Sheffield United, like I say, I completely expect us to win that game. I do, but we can win it well. You know, I think that we can afford to go at Sheffield United. We do not need two central defensive midfielders against Sheffield United. We don't. We'd probably win with two central defensive midfielders. Of course we would. I think we would. But we don't need to do that. Give the fans something back. Most of the fans, whether they care to admit it or not, do want to be entertained. You know, at least a couple of times a season, just so we've got one game that we can think of. Look at what fucking Newcastle did to Sheffield United. They blitzed them 8-0. You know, we're probably going to make hard work of that game like we did against Luton, who also play a low block, because the low block is the style of the weaker team. That's the long and short of it. The style that we play is fundamentally the style of the weaker team going up against a better team, and that's our stock tactic. Okay? And we're not very good at breaking it down, as we saw against TSC, as we saw against Luton. So we're going to have more possession in that game. It's what we do with it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know what your thoughts are anyway. I'm like I say, I'm just worried now that the same patterns are starting to re-emerge from last season in the league, and the players are going to grow tired of it. They will. We know we had players that wanted to leave. Paqueta wanted to go. Antonio wanted to go. Fornals wants to go. Loads of players left and fucked off. New players that were brought in will also grow tired with this system, because it isn't how football's played widespread nowadays. Not if you're a top-class professional and your colleagues are playing for teams that are playing lovely, beautiful football, and you've got to go and play a fucking roadblock every game. Submissive football, where the game plan all week long is geared towards how we stop the opposition's threat, rather than we're going to focus on us, your ability. This is how you're going to hurt them, Kudus. We're going to set you free, Paqueta. This is what you can do to them. Fuck the opposition. Look at what we've got. We've got an embarrassment of riches. Let's start making the most of it. You know? I'm not sure that we will, but only time will tell. But it's been frustrating for me. Results aside, watching the football has been frustrating for me since day one. But look, that is it from me. This ran on for a little bit longer than I anticipated. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please subscribe. It does help us. And don't forget, drop a like on the video. And if you like your tea and coffee, head over to the Tea and Coffee, the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. use the discount code Claret15 and you'll get a nice juicy discount on that as well. The link will be in the description to the website. All right? Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. Get me your heads.